going on YouTube? Welcome to another video. You're joining me here at the new gym, doing our usual leg day here, and we're still continuing this rebuild series, just really coming to the end, realizing things are starting to stabilize. We're starting to get into weight ranges that we were hitting before the surgery, and I think it's a good time to begin the process of kind of coming off of it, and then, trying to build back up to what we were hitting before. Obviously, squats not something that was particularly affected just because it was a bicep tear or tendon tear. And so I've never really had an issue here, so a little bit of should have clipped the weight shifted over here. But yeah, this kabuki bar, the weights do shift, I have noticed, and I guess that's just part of the design because the plate-loaded, the plate-loaded cylinder things or whatever you put in, I don't know what they're called. They do shift around a lot because they're not connected directly towards or welded to the bar. So that's what happened there. But they will shift, so just keep an eye on your weights. But anyway, back to the whole thing. Once I found this, I really eliminated the need for any sort of limitation on any leg movement. And if you've been following the series, you kind of saw exactly what was going on. Basically, we were still squatting and doing what we were doing. Just didn't want to put too much stress and pressure over that. So nothing's really changed that much. It's just an issue of getting my confidence strained back, and then, making sure all the other lifts kind of work in conjunction with another. I'm not going to lie, having not deadlifted heavy in a while, my body was recovering like crazy. As I introduced heavier deadlifts, I started to realize that's where the majority of the stress and recovery time comes from. There's just a movement that will just take a lot out of you. There's no way around it. So we're going to have to factor that in, and you'll kind of see exactly what the program is and what my plans are. I've got a new app I'm going to start using. For years I was using JFit or whatever the heck it's called, and they constantly change it and add just... The UI just got ugly, it was slow, and just so many problems. I just used it because it was for record keeping, essentially. I've used it since almost college, I think. So moving on from there to something a little bit more realistic, I was doing a lot of spreadsheet stuff where I would kind of like look at my numbers and then log them in JFit, but I need something more seamless, and I found something that works pretty well. It just took some time to set up, so you'll kind of see those screenshots at the end to kind of see the weights move and everything like that. And I think it's just a good overall time to transition back over. I think my body's adapted essentially, and obviously I'm still going to have some degree of oversight over what I'm doing and just kind of build back up into stuff. So I'm excited to actually get on a solidified program again instead of just kind of going by feel. I like the structure of that. I like knowing what weights I have to hit, and it's kind of like a balancing act of hitting all this stuff and being able to adjust here. So here I kind of climbed up, tried to see what my upper limit was on these squats, and then just did some back offs of some pause reps after the fact. Just to kind of mix things up and be able to get the work I want in. You're not always going to be able to hit the numbers that you expect to hit, so you gotta adjust. Sumo deadlifts here on this deadlift platform, and yeah, like I said before, acclimating the deadlifts again is probably the hardest part. It's just getting your body to feel the weight of everything. Everything moves pretty easily. It's just the recovery after the fact. So I was doing deadlifts after squats to kind of cap myself, so I didn't need much stimulation to get a decent workout with a weight there. That may change in the future, but at least for right now, that's the goal here. Belt squat here, and I noticed a lot of belt squats. This is a pit shark. There's just not a lot of range of motion to be able to squat, so you kind of have to elevate yourself with plates, mats, or whatever. So I'm using these 25s, which spoiler alert, did not work out too well. So in the future, I end up using bumper plates in the back over there. They've got more friction. They don't slide around, and bigger surface area. So you can really move your feet around and kind of find the ideal position for you to be in. With the belt squat, though, it is incredibly hard to kind of hit depth that you normally would on like a regular squat, a barbell squat. That spinal loading really helps you get to depth if you have mobility issues or if you're like a bigger person. So I was wearing heeled shoes on here to get a little bit more, ease into the hole or whatever. But as much as I play around with these squats, like you can see, The hamstring touches the calf, and that's like the extent of where I can go. I could go lower though, but it creates such an uncomfortable feeling in my knee. And I tried it a few times and I just stopped. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, we've done the work already. We've already done the barbell squat. So all this is an accessory, and you just got to kind of do what works for you. And I might make some modifications and try to change stuff around. That's kind of what I've always done. If a lift doesn't work for me, I kind of see what I can do. And obviously, you can move around settings here, but again, I'm one person out of several using this piece of equipment. So I don't want to modify things too much and then have to put them back. It's just kind of annoying in that way. So I'm going to make do with what I have, but there's a tons of machines and other plate loaded things I can use. There's no replacement for a free weight squat though, as much as people want to try to say that there simply is not. Your ability to control weight in a free moving platform without having the restrictions or the support of a machine or different metal components, super important, and you should be doing both. A lot of people think you can substitute for muscle building. Obviously you can, a lot of machines and stuff though, but strength is a specialization, right? You have to be able to put yourself under load, control that load, recover, rinse and repeat. And a lot of this stuff here, like this, this ham curl is pretty cool. You can like make these modifications and do them unilateral. And so that's what I was doing just for some variety. But you can see here how you're kind of locking yourself into position to really control the range of motion. And again, it was still kind of interesting to use compared to what I've used before. But again, this is all on the back of having already done the heavy squats and the heavy deadlifts. Those should be the foundation of whatever you're doing in order to kind of maintain that. So everything else is cherry on top, whipped cream, sprinkles to make everything else better. And then I threw in some calves here, which is nice to have other calf stuff so you can just kind of hop on and do stuff. My calves are weak as hell, so I've got some work to do. But I will show it along the way here, not too interesting, but just kind of want, to show you exactly what I'm doing, how to build down these workouts with the strength training and then everything else here. So some new screenshots. This is just the dark mode, but yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching the latest video. If you want to help support the channel, I actually own my own wet shaving and grooming e-commerce website where everything's handmade by me. It's www.apexsoaps.com, and you can get a 10% off code using wet shaver. We've got some cool scents here. We've got some Coca-Cola scents, a horchata scent, traditional barbershop, just some really cool stuff. And you can purchase samples or you can buy the whole set. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out via email. Be quick to respond. Thanks for watching.